Alrighty, let's get started. Sorry for the short delay. Let me check comments to make sure everything is going well here. All right, very excited about the General Strike Summit convo. I am too. If you can't hear me, please let me know in the comments. I always like to do an audio check. Let me see the first comment. Grassroots resistance. Just trying to stay within the topic here. All right, it looks like nothing is wrong. All right. So, I wanted to come today. Well, first, I am. I don't usually have this low, but first, I am Compton J. I'm your host for Straight Out of Politics. That's today's show or today's episode. I don't know which episode I'm on, so I stopped kind of numbering them a while ago. So maybe I'll start listing them by the week. That's what we're doing for the roundtable. So maybe I'll start doing that so that people know, which ones to find for specific topics. This one might be something people want to look back at and review. Sorry, I'm still kind of getting dressed. I'm literally running everywhere. My middle daughter started back school today, or yesterday, so taking the kids and all that stuff. So anyway, I'm here. We're going to be talking about the General Strike Summit. I'm just letting more people fall into the live stream. Thank you for those that are here. I see Liv. Thank you, Liv.
Hi! Oh my God! I'm sorry I'm late. Thank you so much for having us.
You're not late. I just kind of let some of my friends I have these conversations with know, hey, if you want to join, and Liv join.
Am I a friend? Jay, did you just use that term? Oh my God, I'm flattered.
Yes, absolutely. How are you doing, Liv?
I am hanging in there during this tornado warning we're having.
Yeah.
Hurricane Ida has brought itself to the Mid-Atlantic now.
Can you let everybody know what state you're in so they kind of...
I'm in Maryland. I am in Annapolis, Maryland right now, Mid-Atlantic. I'm from originally New England, though, who is also about to get hit with all this weather that's traveling up the Northeast right now. I hope everyone is safe in Louisiana and all the other the Gulf states right now. Like, thoughts and prayers all with y'all, and we're going to be fighting for you. That's part of what we're talking about right now for y'all for this general strike. Is making sure that we can get the proper infrastructure in place to help people in these situations that need to take shelter, that need to evacuate. We got to talk about that. And the fact that this is all happening because of climate change in the first place.
Absolutely. It's so weird to me. I made a tweet. So we'll talk about this real quick.
Yes, I saw your tweet. Yes.
Yeah. That said, man, what did this say?
It was something like, something about we're not going to address climate change in Hurricane Ida.
Yeah. It's almost like they're not making the connection. Thank you for reminding me. So it's almost like they're not making a connection with this hurricane, or at least the severity of this hurricane and climate change. It's like it's just ridiculous to me, the avoidance of the reality of this climate crisis. You know what I mean? It's like things are just falling apart right in front of them, and they're just like, oh,
right,
nothing's wrong.
Right. And like Hurricane Ida, the wildfires are still going. Right. The ocean was on fire not long ago. Democrats just grazed over that real quick.
Man, it's luckily it's amazing that Americans survive through these natural disasters, these pandemics, with the type of government that we have. It's just are resilient.
Not everyone is. Not everyone.
That is
true. We are resilient, but we are survivors. But not everyone.
That's a better way.
We're all suffering under capitalism right now, and there are people who have given their lives because of this, because of the white supremacy based capitalism and imperialism that the West has perpetuated.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to this topic before we kind of dive into the general?
I have
topic?
so much. Today was a great day. I'll go into this, but I got something about general strike revolution happening today. And then I got you talking about that you having this podcast today about the general strike. I was like, this was meant to be. I feel this happening.
Right,
I love this energy brewing.
I just felt like there's so much hunger for a general strike.
Yes.
But I always felt like there's not enough people hungry yet. Like all of us are passionate, like you, me, people. Yeah, we're ready to go. But I wanted to do something that addresses those people. Like, those people that are like, I would do it if I was able to, feed my family and take care of this. I'm totally with you. So I wanted to say, instead of planning a general strike, let's talk about the prerequisite to that, which is just talking about the planning. Like, how do we even put this together? So, and that's kind of how the idea came about. So yeah, what are your initial thoughts just on the idea before we get into more of the details?
My thought, which was really learned and confirmed by Nick from Fred Hampton Leftist Socialist MMA, is that we cannot have a general strike without mutual aid, and we need to make those terms synonymous with each other.
Right.
They need to build upon each other. They complete each other. So what you were just saying, like, how can I general strike if I can't feed my family? Like, that is what the mutual aid request and part of the revolution and forming a mutual aid network and organization is about, is to provide that infrastructure for us to be able to say, we are going to strike because I know I have all of this to support me, all y'all behind me to support me. We need that infrastructure and that organization of mutual aid to get that.
To me, that is truly the bridge, Liv, for so many people who would be down otherwise, is that,
of course,
if I was able, if to them, this is them saying this, if I was able to sustain my family, and live, I would absolutely be down for a general strike, because people know that the conditions are awful. They just feel helpless. Like, what else can we do but vote for between these two awful people? Some people feel like, though, not us, but some people feel that way, like, this is my only choice, so I'm picking the lesser of the two evils in their mind. But it's a sense of hopelessness, like they can't get out of it. So what do I do?
Sure.
It's like, I just have to play along with this awful, corrupt game. And I want people to understand that that's not the existence that we have to have if we understand collective power. So what is one of the first things that jump out to you when you saw the tweet, when you saw the idea? Like, what is it that you say, okay, this is the thing we have to do? This is the first thing. I know you said mutual aid. Is that the number one thing to you? Or is there something else as far as a topic that jumped to the front of your mind when you heard that?
I don't think this capitalism and imperialism, white supremacy-based capitalism and imperialism is too complex to have a one solution fits all thing. So I am very multi-pronged approach, and mutual aid, general strike, other direct action, including voting, which we can have a debate on how effective that is. But all these things need to keep working together with the collective good of the people behind it in order for it to effectively change. Like, that's the thing. Like, people are like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, okay, I know, like, bear with me. It's not going to be this simple, like one fix all, but then you need to just keep pointing them in the direction when they say, what do I do? Like, well, have you heard of mutual aid? Have you heard of the general strike? Have you heard of this? Have you heard of the Amazon union workers, Amazon workers unionizing? Like, just direct them in the direction of all this action that's happening, because you need to remember that fake news and propaganda right now are our enemy, are a direct result of mainstream media's working with the duopoly to control us and to control the narrative that they're feeding us. So like, one thing that was huge to me was I was talking to my friend who is like very involved, like has started nonprofits, like trying to get really involved. But they aren't on Twitter, and they did not hear of the Medicare for All marches that were happening across the country on June 24th. And I was like, whoa. And I was just like, so, that's like a huge shout out to all the Twitter activists we got going on organizing on Twitter right now, because that's how I heard of Medicare for All marches, is through Twitter. And I thought it seemed like a big deal, but my friend is older. He's not on Twitter. He's more on Facebook. He's an older millennial. I'm a younger millennial, more on Twitter, not on Facebook. And maybe that was just part of the organizing for Medicare for All marches, is it was mostly on Twitter, where I think we have more younger activists, more younger millennials and Gen Z activists really thriving and cultivating their growth right now.
That is a weakness, Liv, of the left. That is a weakness. We do have a weakness as far as social media platforms. Like, we are pretty weak on Facebook, and we have to do better. It is I mean, I get it. Like, it is awful being on there with all these liberals, and I get it, but we still have to fight through that. Fred Hampton Leftist has a platform on there. We put up our live streams on there all the time. So, and then we have an Instagram and TikTok. So we try to make sure we engage with that crowd. But yes, we do have to do better with that topic.
Yeah, and see, I have a lot of feelings about having a Facebook account between Mark Zuckerberg and it becoming this huge monopoly now, and all the privacy rights. But the thing why I've held on, I haven't deleted my Facebook and all these deactivations that have been happening, is because it's still a platform where I have a reasonable following that I've been accumulating, that I had before I had a Twitter, that I have even more following, that I don't feel like I should abandon, because sometimes I really do post things there that get a response. And sometimes it only takes that one person where I'm like, wow, I resonated with someone. Like, I struck a chord. Like, it only takes one. And you don't know what you post that's going to plant the seeds of change in all those people that come across your news feed. And I just don't feel like I know we all feel like Facebook has gone to the boomers, but it's still a platform. Like, we still need to connect with them. Like, what are we going to do? Just say die and wait? No, we need them. Like,
that's my point too. They're part of, they have to be part of the coalition of any sort of coalition that we're going to have. That's going to be very, very effective. I absolutely agree. But let me talk about the General Strike Summit, and then we can kind of talk about more details.
Yes.
So
let's do it.
Here is the idea. It's a 3-day live stream event. So we're talking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we want people who are working to be able to watch this. Now, we know some people do work on weekends. We get that. And that's the reason why we want to do it over a 3-day span, so that we want to be able to accommodate the working class by offering them this information over a 3-day period, and they can kind of jump in and see or check in when they can. So that's the first thing. It's a 3-day event, Friday to Sunday.
So Friday, that's the 15th, right? That's when the general strike is starting.
That was the next thing I was just about to say. Okay. There hasn't been a date set, so I'm not sure. Yeah, there hasn't been a date set for the General Strike Summit. October 15th is the 1-day general strike, commercial general strike, where you're not buying anything. So that's going on. So so it's unlike, we're not gonna overshadow that date by starting on that same day. So I'm thinking it's going to be more likely after that, because it's going to take a little bit of coordinating with some of the guests that I'm going to talk about in just a second that I want to bring on. So let me bring up my tweet, actually, and I'm going to tell you which guests I want to bring on. So that's the general idea. But the whole concept is to bring on activists who understand how to do mutual aid, who could strategize about how to build a local mutual aid infrastructure and a regional infrastructure and a national communication infrastructure. So we can bring on activists like that will, kind of answer questions to some people. I was on Hard Lens Media, with those guys over there, great guys on Hard Lens Media, friends of Fred Hampton Leftist. And when I brought up this idea to them, and I explained, he was like, you know what? I've never been kind of on the general strike thing, but if you had something like this that kind of answered all of my questions, I probably, you know, if I like the answers, you know, I probably could jump on board. So that's the type of person I want to reach, is somebody who needs more information before they can just wholeheartedly jump in like that. And I can understand, because I'm the type of person that needs planning on top of planning on top of planning.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get it that for those type of people. So the idea, bring people on. Now, some of the guests that some of our audience may know that we want to bring on, people like Ryan Knight, people like Jimmy Dore, Ron Placone, Graham Elwood, Nico, Fiorella from the Convo Couch, Franco Analysis. Did I say Ryan Knight? Yeah, of course.
The ends, Jay.
Yeah,
I
of
love
course,
it.
Fred Hampton, you know, all of the Fred Hampton Leftists and our correspondence on the Fred Hampton Leftists. I know I'm missing somebody, but I'll bring up the tweet and catch those other people in just a second. But yeah, so and then, you know, everybody kind of you know, have time to talk, and it'll be panels with these people. There'll be other activists. I'm missing people, I know. There'll be other activists, like I said, that will be invited to talk, not just the ones I mentioned here. I have my tweet up here. I'm going to bring it up in just a second.
Awesome.
But let me see. How do I do that? Okay, so then there's Justin Jackson. I also want to bring on. I don't know how I forgot about Brianna, but Brianna Joy Gray.
Yeah.
The Vanguard, I want to invite. If you know about those guys, Cornell West, of course, we want to invite to the show.
Yes.
Comrade Misty. Then there's Sky Daddy, Hardlines Media, Pat the Burner, Electic Radical, for those, and the Punch Up podcast. That's just to name a few. So just to give you an idea what we're trying to do. Now, so we have the date. I'm sorry, we have the days of the week. We're gonna announce the date once I speak with these people, so we can kind of gauge a time that it works for everybody. So I'm going to engage with them right after this live stream. I'm going to DM everybody right after here and trying to gauge a date so that we can announce a date. And then it'll just kind of be, you know, maybe 10 to 10, something like that. 12 hours on Friday, 12 hours on, and then just fill it with different speakers, different guests, different interviews, all geared to answering the questions of how do we build menstrual aid? If I quit my job, how do I pay my bills? How do I general strike if I can't necessarily quit my job? Do I call in sick a lot? Do I use you know what I'm saying? Like, there's other ways. So there's just different things people have questions for. Maybe we'll start some sort of question sort of inbox, digital inbox, of course, that people can submit questions and concerns they would have that would convince them. If you can answer these questions, these are my concerns about me participating. So we can answer all of those types of questions, because the more people we get on board with the idea, the more people and the more the likelihood of the success. Now, also, it could be effective just in the planning. And I'm going to pass it back to you after this point. It could be effective when capitalists and corporations start to hear about such planning of a general strike. They could then begin to go, oh, you know what? Maybe we should get our act together before this actually snowballs into something that can really be financially painful for us. So that may happen also. So after hearing the amount of days, hearing some of the guests, you'll be, of course, you know, so if the people on the New Leftist podcast will be part of this group of panelists, so you'll be participating also. So what do you think of this added detail now about it and the amount of days. You have any ideas on how we should structure it? Like, just give me all your thoughts. This is just me. Like, this is not set. Okay, so I don't want anybody. This is not going to be like just me overseeing this. So once I speak to the other people, this is just me speaking off the cuff. So hopefully, we'll have something ready for anybody. Now, if you're for those that are watching right now, please put in any questions you have about the General Strike Summit. The one thing I want to say we don't have is the date. So that we don't have that. I want to speak to all the people that I mentioned before we announce a date for that. But if you have any general suggestions or questions, please put that in the comments. So Liv, so tell me so besides mutual aid, on an event like this, let's say you are, you're not Liv, you're not invested so much in politics. You're just kind of, who the president is, and that's, pretty much it. But you understand that, you can't seem to find a job that pays you enough to live comfortably. You're always having to work overtime. You're always having to work these jobs that you hate. You're that person. Like, what do you believe that person needs to see at a General Strike Summit? Like, what does that person, if you were that person, or if you were ever that person before you became who you are today, if you were ever a person in that situation, what would have taken you to open your eyes? What would have you have to have heard?
Oh, that's a hard question, because I'm trying to think of myself like before I ever got in politics, right. when I was still back in the term I've coined, the white privilege bubble, and I just like was believing like it's not polite to talk about politics, and don't ask people about how much money they make. Hi, Austin.
Hey, Austin.
How you doing? Look at you in your button up. You look so handsome.
Looking all nice. So the audience, this I think this is your first time on Straight Out of Politics, Austin. So thank you for joining us. We're just talking about the General Strike Summit, but for my audience, this is Austin. He is part of the and also Liv is part of the new podcast. The New Left podcast, which appears tonight at 7:30 p.m. Yes. Austin, you're in Texas or Louisiana? I always forget. Texas or Alabama. Alabama. Right. Did the storm come by your way, or how did it go there for you?
So in my area, it actually was real light. It was 1.5 inches of rain. Mm-hmm. Normally, the construction's not that great here, so it'll flood the street. But it didn't flood this time, so it was all right.
Oh wow!
Okay, so your area kind of missed it, and that's good for you.
Alabama.
What about any relatives, friends in that area that you've heard any stories about?
Nothing yet. I ain't heard nothing yet, which is good news. I actually haven't been able to check the weather today. I had to pick up my dad this morning, and he was asking me how bad it got. I said, I ain't checked yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes I'm afraid to look at that type of thing too. So, all right. I just wanted to do a check-in and make sure everything was okay with you in that general area. But the topic is just General Strike Summit, just kind of explaining and getting ideas about the summit. And what I was asking Liv, and I guess after she answers, I'll come to you, but I'll restate the question so you can hear. So if just imagine back before you had the knowledge of being a leftist today, where you kind of believed everything, all the propaganda, Republican, Democrat kind of thing. But you always felt like, hey, I can never find a job that could pay me enough to live comfortably. I'm always working these dead end jobs that I don't really like. I can't find really any economic opportunity. It seems to be, just a perpetual state of bad jobs.
Yeah.
How do we reach that person? Like, what does that person need to hear at something like a general strike summit, because the summit is to answer concerns and questions. So Liv, I'm gonna give it back to you, and then we'll go to Austin. Like, what do you think that type of person needs to hear?
I think that person, especially mostly white people with the white fragility, they need to see something with security and comfort, and that can come in. I think our best way is putting that in mutual aid, saying this is your safety net, and it's not just you, it's us, and showing it's a collective struggle that we're all enduring right now, and really making that like the collective action and drawing on that, because again, this is a class struggle. This isn't just like a race issue. This is a class struggle right now. And we are all a part of the oppressed class. And we need to just talk about that and really work on our security, which, is mutual aid, so that we can do the direct action as well as striking and maybe civil disobedience and getting into good trouble. We need to be like, hey, who's going to bail me out? What about the water protectors at stop line 3 right now? Like, they need to know, like, we're getting bailed out. Like, someone just got sent to jail to prison for like almost a decade for one of our water protectors. Like, we need to be standing by these people who are putting their lives on the line and taking direct action to stand out against capitalism and imperialism. And both corrupt parties are going to do everything in their power to suppress that and control the mainstream media to prevent that from all that going on from the mass of the public to know that that's happening. So having conversations, just talking, it's really so simple, like really just engaging in the art of conversation, and being like, how is your job? Like, we're all struggling right now. Like, what do you want to see from your job? And just like going from those kinds of questions and seeing and really engaging and provoking thought and critical consciousness and thought. I
love that. I love that. I want to kind of piggyback off that one point, and that is to reach those people. I think there's a couple important things. One, it's something about having the ability to critique when a person sees you're talking that both parties are bad. It's a level of a wall that comes down. I'm not saying all the walls, because it's like, okay, this person is not cheerleading for the other tribal side. You get what I'm saying? They're saying they're terrible too. Now they're saying my team is terrible, but a little bit of that wall comes down because they're like, okay, you think that other side is awful too. Yeah. So I think that gives a little bit of leverage, and then again, not leverage, but gives a little bit where you'll get the person's ear if you make sure they understand both sides are not helping us equally. They're both corrupt. They're both not helping the working class. Yep. And then the next thing is talking about kitchen table issues, where you're talking about, like, how are you paying your bills? Are you having to juggle bill money, or are you paying this one and making this one late this 30 days and then paying the other one on time and making that? Like, are you juggling
living paycheck to paycheck?
That's how because everybody who is struggling has a story to that. Yes, everybody who's struggling. So you have to engage people there, because you have to connect that to the general strike. Connect the fact that you're only able to eat breakfast and dinner and you can't afford lunch because you can't afford it. Connect that to why the general strike is so important. So I think those two things is what we need to make sure when we're doing outreach for any sort of general strike, because we have to add masses of people to this movement. So I'll go to Austin. Same sort of question that we said to Liv. Like, if you were that person, or if you ever were that person, what would it have taken for you to hear, for you to say, hey, there's something about that general strike that may work? Like, what would you need to hear?
I would say, back in I used to work in restaurants, front and back of the house. And, honestly, it wouldn't take much getting paid $2.13 an hour.
Back then,
yeah,
or even now, being a restaurant.
Even now,
That's brutal.
Yep.
Yeah. So it wouldn't take too much of old me. And, in school, I did learn something about unions, and I always grew up with a high opinion of unions. And I always thought that anybody who had the choice to invest a little in a safety net, a union, which, since we're talking about strikes,
right? Exactly.
That I think I don't understand how people don't choose unions over, I just don't.
But Austin, can you elaborate on that more? Because I did not grow up knowing what unions were. They're still kind of foreign to me.
Yeah. So like found out my great granddad, he was a Teamster. I started looking more into that. Teamsters is an old organization. What I wanted to try to get to a point to make is that for this general strike to work, we need to reach out to these union heads as well. I think that putting some public pressure on them. I believe the AFL-CIO has a new president. Their old one died a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And not only pressure, but like connecting and learning, how do you form a union? Because something I've been trying to work on is, come up with a little thing on a 3x5 card, get it printed up, and then just drop these all over town, real easy, and try to spread some information about unions doing that, dropping some in the break room at Walmart, what have you. But
yeah, it's just like on the ground, like you're on the ground pounding the pavement, old school style.
Those algorithms that all these folks are looking at, they ain't gonna show them unionization material.
No,
we have to go out and reach these people because they don't see. It's hard to, in my opinion, when you're struggling and you're eating paycheck to paycheck and everything, your ability to have some creative thinking and problem solving is probably a little distracted, So
it's severely impacted.
Exactly. So these folks, they need to hear somebody is on their side, because I guarantee you what, if you're born and you have a great family and a great support structure, you're very lucky, I think. And I think a lot of American culture has destroyed our community.
Absolutely.
I mean, for an example, just the local grocery store, right?
Yeah.
There ain't one. There ain't none, really. And, those type places, they used to be, little hubs of activity and community and talking. You don't see that, nobody hangs around out front Walmart.
Maybe to fight.
Yeah.
Over a grocery cart.
I'm gonna catch them all. Yeah, cash me outside, whatever. But but to get back to Liv's question about unions a little bit is, unions are versus employee owned or co-ops or whatever. It's a collective of workers that fight together for their material rights against the boss who wants another vacation home.
Yeah. Okay, so help me with this. This is what I struggle with. So, and some people are pointing this in the chats that like it's illegal for unions to strike in the United States.
So this is the assault on unions, and it began probably a little bit before Reagan. Would you say maybe there's always been an assault, but there was literally an assault where they start to write laws to restrict their unions, because
not like they're doing with protesting,
right? Like, because in the 60s and the 70s, unions were strong. They had a lot of powers. I guess it started to diminish in the 80s because of that, and they started attacking and they started to demonize unions, and it was like, how can unions be bad? And then you had some corrupt leaders that did not make it okay, that were running these unions, who were in bed with some of these corrupt parties. So, it just made it all bad. And then they just started doing these laws, and they started just dwindling down the ability for people to unionize, and it's just been ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's also hilarious that they did all this, like, fighting the unions because of corruption, when, I mean, look at the damn motherfuckers that are sitting there pointing them out. They're the corrupt people that are really in charge.
Corrupt calling out the corrupt, saying, look at that.
At least those corrupt union folks probably help their union members.
They got health care or something. They got us a raise. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but let's talk about that point, Austin. I think that is a key factor in any general strike. We have to reach out to unions. Like, we have to establish relationships with unions and union membership. That is just something we have to do. People want to just jump into it, and I get it. Like, I can go right now. Like, the three of us would probably be like, "Oh, general strike outside, let's go." But everybody's
not
no
food.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's not there. Everybody's not there yet. And then for those people, I think answering that type of question or having those types of conversations would greatly increase the number of participation in it. But unions is definitely a key part and must be part of the General Strike Summit. So maybe we'll invite some union leaders or union members on and ask those questions, talk to them about, like, what do you suggest for how to get more union participation in something like that? Like, how do we reach out to them? Asking those types of questions. So that's a great idea. Now, what would be some of the other things? So we've talked about mutual aid, the importance of that. And I actually think it's kind of in that order of importance to me, mutual aid and then reaching out to unions. I think those are great. Those are two huge legs to any general strike, is union participation and a mutual aid infrastructure. What would you say is one or two other legs of this general strike? And I'll start with you, Austin, this time, then go to Liv. So we have mutual. Go ahead. No, I was just setting it up. I was setting you up with the question. We have mutual aid as one leg. We have union participation as another leg. What else would you say is one of the legs of the general strike?
Well, I don't know how many people would be happy to hear this, but apparently we live in a Christian nation. And
but separation of church and state,
right? And no taxes for the church. Every citizen a church. Every citizen a church.
Churches are tax free,
right?
But so with that in mind, living in Alabama, there's seriously, people don't get how many churches a small town can have. There are more churches than preachers sometimes. But so with that, is coming from a place of love should be like the heart of our message, and that, in my opinion, a lot of that, I grew up listening about the Bible and all, and Jesus seems like a pretty dope mug. And
I love that.
So like I think that it'd be important for you to lead with empathy and lead with love when you begin these conversations, because I have a tendency to be a little hot-headed, So I am trying to actively coach myself into smiling more.
It is something you have. I gotta say, like I've had a lot of corporate jobs, and I didn't start out with that. I just had to build the ability. But I absolutely think this is another leg, and it's something I didn't think of until you just said this. Is that the general strike has to come from a place of we're here to help, and that's where the mutual aid, I guess, comes in. We're here to help those struggling. Yeah. That's what we're here for. That's what this movement is about. We're helping those struggling as we organize to general strike. So I absolutely, and I had to write it down. That's why I took out my phone. Must come from a place of love is absolutely.
And that's, I had to pull up my phone and look up a quote that it reminded me of, Austin. And it's by Che Guevara. The true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. It is impossible to think of a genuine revolutionary lacking this quality.
Oh.
And like, I don't know about all y'all, but I'm doing this out of love. I love all y'all, and I want our rights to be recognized and rectified.
I initially jumped on this out of hatred for capitalism. I gotta be honest with you.
I love it. Black man in America. I bet you were feeling pretty fucking hatred towards America.
So maybe from the place of love, of hate for capitalism, I can spin it that way. But absolutely, it has encompassed that. Now, I'm not gonna say it didn't involve a place of love. It's a love for my family, wanting them to have a future, a love for my kids, wanting them. For my girls, I know you can relate to this, Austin. You have girls, I have young girls. Like, I'm just thinking, like, me not being here, eventually not being here, them having to survive through terrain worse than this. Because it's not, you get what I'm saying? Like, on this path, it's only going to get worse without, this type of big movement or uprising. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we're about the same age. I'm 42. And in the way I've seen and looked at the history, it feels like, honestly, since our generation was born, we've been on a decline.
Yeah.
And nothing happens all at once, and this is how Rome falls, right? Slowly, day by day. And that path that you're talking about, our children right now, are going to have a rougher path than we.
Yes. And look how rough
we're having
it rough right now.
We're the first generation to be doing worse. I mean, that's crazy. Think about that. 300 years ago, the next generation was doing better than the previous generation.
Well, think about it now. It's y'all. You're Gen Xers. It's been y'all now. Millennials now.
Wait. So Gen Xers are people that are like 40, or like Gen Xers.
They're right after boomers.
I don't really know
they're like around like this. It depends on what timeline you look at, but it's usually around like the end of the 60s, the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s.
That's like Gen X.
Does that fall where you guys are? Yeah.
Gen X.
Yeah.
Gen X.
And I'm a late millennial. I'm 96. I'm 25.
Okay. And then what's in between? What's in between?
That's usually between like 1985. I consider it a millennial between 1985 and 2000. Because like I have two younger sisters, and there's like a huge difference between my youngest sister, who I'm 7 years apart with and was born in 2003, and my other sister, who I'm 23 months apart with. And we really grew up in like the 90s, the early 2000s, versus my youngest sister, who's definitely a Gen Zer. I can feel more of I'm a millennial versus the Gen Zer in her. That's why I feel like that's why I say to 2000 for millennials.
Do you think there would be this is just something I just thought of. You're talking Gen Z. Do you think there would be a level of different participation in general strike? Depending on Gen Z, millennial,
honey,
like
Gen
what,
Z
like
does
what do
not
you
want
think?
to fuck around. Gen Z is not having it. I love it. I love it. They will not be fooled. They are not having it, and it's all because of these. It is all because of these. It's amazing.
Social media.
It's amazing.
I bet capitalists are like, wow. I wish we didn't let the internet, run loose like this.
Yeah.
We thought we were just only going to make money off the internet, but somehow they're using it to organize. and that's where we're seeing some of this suppression. So let's get back to the main discussion. So we have maybe 3 legs now. We have the mutual aid. What else did I say? Mutual aid was 1 leg. Oh, union participation was a 2nd leg, and then must come from a place of love is absolutely a 3rd leg, that we're here to help. Is there a 4th leg? Is there something else that you or any one of you believe is very, very important to any general strike or any planning of a general strike?
Well, I think Liv just said it, is the youth. You know,
we need the young ones, the youngins.
Look, I'm not going to be the one, like, you know, it's not going to be my generation that's going to take the reins and really fix everything. We need to empower the youth and show them when they're 18, they can start a union. Show them when they're 18, they can start a business, a co-op, whatever, you know, but getting young folks and getting the message to young folks, I think, is another leg, maybe.
That could be it, because anything that's going to be sustained, I'm trying to figure, is there a benefit? But I believe any movement, if we're talking about any successful movement, has always had the younger generation leading, or a big, huge chunk, especially if you're talking about civil rights. You're talking about the older people were maybe in their late 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of people in their 20s, in their late 20s, in their mid 20s. Yeah.
That picture of Bernie getting dragged off, arrested. He was a kid then, and he's still fighting the same fight.
Exactly. And that's the point. That is a great point, and that could possibly be another leg to this, is that we have to get the youth on. And do you have a suggestion? Liv, you said you're 25. I think you're part of the youth.
You're the youth.
I'm a youngin. In many eyes, I'm a youngin. Yes. In many eyes.
So when you're talking to peers, when you're talking to maybe people that's a year or 2 younger than you, maybe 4 years younger than you, what are they struggling with? They're being born. This is their normal, living awful like this. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is their normal, being born into several wars, being born into an awful no living wage, being born into a pandemic. You get what I'm saying? Just awfulness on top of awfulness. Like, what are the youth talking about? What do you think it takes to get them to participate?
I think the youth will really spew a lot of what their parents say. And that's what I saw when I was talking to my youngest sister, like, especially around like 2016, 2020. It was just like, well, all these kids are saying, like, and she was living we moved to Severna Park, Maryland, which is very primarily white community, high socioeconomic status, ultimate white privilege definition. And she's saying, like, how all these people in her school are like pro-Trump, and it's because they're getting those beliefs from their parents, because and it all comes down to money. It's all because they're like, well, we don't want to be taxed. And I even had family members myself where I have distanced myself from family members because they specifically voted for Trump because, well, money. And I was like, well, you showed your real colors then, hun, because if you're actually going to vote for the money for yourself over the humanity for everyone else, and you won't admit to that, or you will admit to that, but refuse to accept responsibility for that, then we are not in the same wavelength, honey. We're not. Like, I'm in the fight for everyone right now. I'm not going to permit, like, I understand I have white privilege. I understand I benefit from that continually, and will benefit from that until we dismantle white supremacy. And I want to make sure that the opportunities that I have been gifted with because of the inherited color of my skin, everyone has an opportunity to.
That's absolutely beautiful there, and I absolutely agree. Was there anything, Austin, you wanted to add to that part? I kind of Didn't know if you were shaking your head to
No,
speak or not.
I did read the other day though that children like 6 and under, 20% of them are reporting nightmares of the earth being on fire. So, yeah,
Wow.
I remember growing up having nightmares about nukes, and doing nuke. Anyway, that was an aside.
Right.
But
it's awful. Just think about that. What our government and system like inflicts on people just because of a dollar of a profit. Like let's when they call targeted, when they mean really they're just going to be eliminating people. They're filtering out people for different aid. Our poverty line is atrocious. Like that hasn't been changed in over like decades. Our poverty line should be something like poverty. You're considered poverty like at I think 22,000 or something like that.
Yep.
Poverty line should be something like in a range of like $38,000
at least.
At least. Like, and it's so, but that's a way of eliminating a lot of people from being able to get the ability to help, and they live in a perpetual state of having to go from awful job to awful job.
Yep.
And that to me is why that's the person I want to connect to, the person that has pent up anger about the awful state they're in and don't really connect it to the system. They internalize it because capitalism kind of teaches you to internalize. If you don't have a lot of money, that's your fault. You get what I'm saying? That's your fault, not anyone else's fault, not the system or anything like that. That's what capitalism teaches us.
Just call me broke Bobby.
Exactly. That's what capitalism teaches us. So I feel like I want to tap into that sort of anger and discontentment with the person who understands that, because regardless of party, regardless of tribalism, that's something everybody can connect with. Like, aren't you tired of barely working your ass off and barely getting $500, $600?
Shit. Have you ever had a vacation? Ask that question to people.
That's
have you
one
ever
question.
had a
When's the last time you ever had a vacation?
Yeah.
When's the last time you've ever been on vacation? When's the last time you ever were on a plane? You took a trip anywhere? When's the last time you did that?
When did you take a mental health day?
Right. When's the last time you got paid for being sick? You were off sick and you were able to get paid. Like these types of questions taps into anybody who is struggling, and there's a lot of people struggling, and that's what I think. And I think that kind of also taps into from a place of love where you're like, I want to help you because look how you're living. You should not be living that way. Anything you want to add on that particular note? We're going to be bringing it to an end in about 20 minutes. So I wanted to give you the heads up. So if you wanted to add anything else in about the general strike, I do have a second thing I want to talk about before we end. But General Strike Summit, 3 days, live stream, a bunch of different guests. Not guests, I guess a bunch of different people participating, because this is going to be something given by multiple people, not just me or us. And we're hoping to do that. A lot of people said Black Friday. Is that in November or when is Black Friday?
After Thanksgiving, right?
Something like that. Yeah. That could be.
That would be hilarious.
That could be a good idea because people would be off.
Capitalism down.
People would be off.
Can you imagine those stores not having people to run them?
Can you imagine? Oh my God.
Wait. No, are you talking about the summit or the general strike being on that day?
Sorry, general strike being on that day.
Okay. So the plan the general strike to start like on a Black Friday, that is a good idea. Any shopping, is that the longest shopping holiday we have? Is it Black Friday, right?
I think so.
It's damn near Black Weekend by now.
It goes
a different day.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday. What is it? Cyber Mondays. They didn't used to have Cyber Mondays not too long ago, and now they
can thank Amazon for that.
They just add different things in different categories, and people just go, "Oh, okay, another reason why I can spend money."
Yeah, I think last time I went for Thanksgiving, everybody left to go shopping. It's like, cool.
But yeah, okay. So the other thing I wanted to make sure we covered was the Afghanistan latest news and what Joe Biden said. Did either of you get a chance to watch Joe Biden?
No,
speech?
I refuse. No, I'm not going to.
But did you hear about what he said? What do you think about Joe Biden? What do you think about what's going on with Afghanistan and what he's saying and just the whole spin of it from mainstream media? What's your thoughts on that?
You keep going. You say everything you want to, and then I'll go off about Joe Biden.
Okay, so there's two sort of narratives going on right now. Conservatives right now are on the impeachment thing, right? Have you seen this?
Yeah,
he needs to be impeached.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, he needs to be impeached or resign. But Kelly, what's her name? Kelly. What's the old
Kellyanne Conway?
No, let me just bring her tweet up. I think I'm saying her name. Kaylee. She was the one who the Trump's media, what is it called? The person that stands in what Jen Psaki does.
Kaylee McElhaney.
Yes, that's it. I'm sorry. The last one. I'm sorry. I had a brain freeze. So let me share her tweet real quick about that, and then I'm going to share some of what a video of what Joe Biden is talking about. You can come in. My wife is showing up at the house.
Hi, Jay's wife.
They said, "Hey, babe." Liv says, "Hey." Okay. All right. So we have her tweet up here, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you can't, I'm going to read it. It says, "Impeach him. Joe Biden asked the president of Afghanistan to lie." In the transcript, Biden told Ghani I think that's how you say it, to say that the fight against the Taliban was going well, whether it was true or not. The Afghan president responded, "Mr. President, we are facing a full-scale invasion." This is the reason why they believe, because he's lying about that. Have she ever heard of the Afghanistan papers? Have she ever heard of WikiLeaks and what they leaked about what was being lied about? But anyway, so this is the point of view of, I guess, the conservative audience of conservatives of Fox News. So, but what I wanted to do is play what what's his name? Joe Biden has said, and let's bring up this one here. Let me make sure you can see this here. Okay. Yeah, you can see it. Let's see what Joe Biden says here.
Risk or low cost about any war. It's time to end the war. End the low grade or low risk or low risk. There's nothing low grade or low risk or low cost about any war. It's time to end the war in Afghanistan. As we close 20 years of war and strife and pain and sacrifice, it's time to look at the future, not the past. To a future that's safer, to a future that's more secure, to a future that honors those who served and all those who gave what President Lincoln called their last full measure of devotion. I give you my word with all of my heart. I believe this is the right decision, a wise decision, and the best decision for America. There's nothing low grade.
Yeah. I mean, so first, the elephant in the room. Does he look like he's on some kind of medication to you? I mean, am I the only one? Like, I'm like, this is crazy. Like the only barely
video
able
of Joe
to
Biden,
talk. Yeah, go ahead.
The only video of Joe Biden I want to see is the one of him nodding off. That's all I care about, because he is unwell. Our president is unwell.
Yeah, this is almost like abuse. Like they're just medicating him and having him reading this. Abuse. Yeah, and they're just having him read this stuff. He is clearly like laboring to speak.
That's what it feels like, right?
Yeah, he's really laboring to speak, and they want to act like nothing's going on. And then you got some more conservative propaganda, like the Taliban is having a victory lap because they're leaving. Yeah, if an occupying country leaves, why wouldn't you celebrate that? And why are you trying to spin this into something else?
Why are we celebrating? We should be celebrating. We should be having parties. You know.
Exactly, and I mean, I just don't get it. Not just some of the mainstream media spin. I didn't plan to talk about this a lot. I just wanted to make sure that Straight Out of Politics kind of touched upon the Afghanistan withdrawal and Joe Biden's speech. That wasn't the full speech. That was just essentially the most important emotional parts of it, I guess. But if you watch the entire thing, like he's clearly, they medicated him for something. Like his eyes are very vacant, and but anyway, to go to what he's saying, there go his daughters.
Friends!
Hey, we're on TV.
Hi, friends. Hi, friends.
Awesome.
Okay.
Just getting home from school. So I'll come back to Austin then Liv. What are your thoughts on the Joe Biden? I know you didn't want to really see him say that, speak, but what are your thoughts on Joe Biden and his speech saying he's withdrawing these people? And do you think it's a real withdrawal, or there's something else going on?
It just makes me sick to my stomach that we're going to be talking about this withdrawal and everything, and that the speech he just did, and he doesn't once mention the humanitarian crisis that the U.S. has now created there, and what we're going to do to help rectify that and remedy it. Not once. I don't see anything. And the only thing I've heard about it is that there was some pressure on Biden to expedite the special visas for Afghanis that have helped U.S. citizens or the military, which is great. Obviously, they should be able to go. I'm sorry. What about everyone else?
Exactly. The other refugees. Yeah.
People don't. I don't
understand.
Crisis.
I don't think Americans really understand what happens. There's never been a war necessarily on this soil, not in the way that Americans view wars that we see these wars. It's like their neighborhoods are just destroyed.
Yep.
So what happens to these people? Where grocery stores are just blown up, destroyed. So that's what she's talking about. What about these people? Once the Americans leave, what happens to all these people whose lives have been destroyed?
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting that the conservatives have taken a liking to the Afghan people and are wanting to help bring them back after we stuck our dick in the mashed potatoes at the party. And then, but all the wars and shit we cause in South America, and we have folks at the southern border, it's the same folks. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They're both
abolish ICE.
Yeah, chica la migra. Yeah. So I was trying to say that the conservatives seem to be welcoming of the Afghan people for the very reason that we destroyed their country, but doesn't welcome people at the southern border, even though we've helped destroy their countries. By the way, what did I see the other day? There's something I can't remember, but
no
worries. Come to you.
No worries. But just to piggyback off the point you're making, the hypocrisy. America does that on so many different levels where they pretend to be this, but they're doing something in the background. I mean, just pretending to be a free country while you have slaves building it. I mean, it's just so many different levels of just hypocrisy and just crap.
Delusion.
That's a better
Ignorance.
way.
Ignorance.
That's a better way of putting it. So we have come to the end of Straight Out of Politics. I wanted to give all of us enough time before our next show, because we're going to be back on
I'm so excited.
as whatever time it is. I can't remember. I think it's 7:30 my time. Yeah, 7:30 my time. I'm sorry, 4:30 my time, 7:30 Eastern. We'll be on with the new Left podcast right back here on the Fred Hampton Leftist. But before we go, I want to give you two last final words. You do anything, any shout outs you want to give, any birthday shout outs, anything you want to say as your parting words. I'll start with Austin and then I'll end with Liv. do you have anything coming up, or do you have anything you want to talk about on tonight's episode or preview? What's going on with Austin?
I got two things. A little preview is if you look up on Twitter at Panjshir_province, PANJSHIR. I've been digging a little bit through their tweets. They're the resistance in one valley out in Afghanistan, and they're fighting right now as we speak. And the other thing would be eat the rich.
That's always nice to have eat the rich on here. If only we could really do that.
We can tax the rich. We can get a wealth tax.
Exactly. I want to do an episode on that. Eat the rich.
We should.
Yeah, I want to do an episode on that. Maybe next week. So Liv, what are your final thoughts? What do you have coming up? Anything going on in your state with the Green Party organization? What's going on?
Yeah, we are still going through our debacle with figuring out our contested election that we just had and moving forward with that. And it's been interesting coming from like a rank and file Green member to someone on the like steering committee now. It's been interesting seeing all the drama that goes behind doors in politics and organizations, just by nature of when you have people work together, there's humans do what humans will. And
just because you agree on policy doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to have disagreements. You can agree on policy and disagree on other things. So just something I just popped in my head. What about inviting the Green Party to the General Strike Summit?
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be something. Yeah, I absolutely think they should.
And Austin's in DSA. We need to be getting all these leftist organizations together.
Absolutely. I just don't know DSA as well. That's why I didn't want to say that until I spoke to somebody that knows about that organization more. But I do know a few people like yourself and a couple other people that are in the Green Party. So I'm thinking we want them to participate. And if DSA is down, absolutely. If they're down, we'll absolutely give the invitation to those who want to participate. MMP or MPP. I always say MMP, but MPP. So yeah. All right. So thank you. What we have coming up later tonight is 7:30 Eastern every Wednesday. We have the New Left podcast, and it's a panel discussing whatever the latest topics are today. Anybody want to preview the topics, or you just want to wait? Do you want to preview a couple of the topics?
Let's preview. I want our folks.
So what are some of the topics, Liv, that we're talking about tonight?
We just updated current breaking news. Okay. Texas passing and enacting their hideous war on women abortion bill.
Yes.
Prohibiting abortions as early as 6 weeks and enabling private citizens to report you if they have heard otherwise. Yes.
It's ridiculous. Yes. So that's been added. What are some of the other topics that we're going to be discussing?
What are some of the other topics? I believe we were also going to talk about Afghanistan, which we did.
Yes, we're going to talk about the update on the Afghanistan. I believe instead of saying I believe, let me just look at the list right here.
I think the eviction moratorium.
That's the other one. Eviction moratorium. People are going to be out if they're, or actually it's even started. I think I read something where there's already 750,000 evictions that have already been filed. So it is absolutely something we will be discussing tonight. I'm looking to see if there's any other topics that we missed. I think that's all. And then we always end with talking about Twitter trends. And so, whatever is hot on Twitter. So Afghanistan, eviction moratorium, Hurricane Ida, Justice Democrats taking dark money. And then we just added the Texas law that just been passed. So that's some of the topics we will be discussing tonight. So we're going to be signing off here with Straight Out of Politics. Thank you, Austin and Liv, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
And thanks for those who stayed on and all the comments. And if you would like
Thank
to
y'all.
support,
Love y'all.
if you like to support FHL, make sure you visit us on Ko-fi website. And for those who don't have Ko-fi, we still have oops. Hang on a second here. We still have Patreon, but we're trying to get everybody over to Ko-fi. But if you don't have Ko-fi, you can also support us on Patreon. And thank you for the super chat there that came in. Thank you so much. And we're signing off. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Bye, guys.
See you later.